What is good, everybody? Juliana Page here. And if you're new, know that I've written a couple of books on God's vibes matter. Why is that important? Because of the vibes matter. And today we're talking about energy. So we got to talk about vibes, okay? So you probably heard, you probably experienced it, you might have even said it, but vibes don't lie. Vibes matter. You can enter an atmosphere, an environment, and immediately go, ooh, I dig this vibe, or I ain't even going to sniff that out. I just know it's not a vibe for me, right? You can tell. We have spiritual senses, okay? So it's really important to pay attention to those. But where does the God's vibes matter come in? Little backstory. I believe that I got self-checked by God. I had a coaching company back in the day, very different than coaching that I do today. But in the very beginning, I had a coaching company called Vibes Matter, because how you think affects how you feel, which affects how you behave and how you show up in the world, what you do and what you don't do, right? Makes a lot of logical sense. However, if that doesn't have kingdom on it, I don't want it, right? So years later, God would draw me in and I would have my own salvation experience, which radically changed who I knew myself to be and how I started showing up in the world and how I operated and functioned in the world. And it really highlighted the fact that not all vibes matter. In fact, I don't want to be tuned into or synced up to or partnered with vibes that really don't matter. I don't want those to have power and authority operating in my life. I want to be the element that is powerful and that is operating in her authority and stewarding well what she's been given. So I've got to be so clear on God's thoughts, on the presence of the Holy Spirit, on God's promises, on God's direction, so that I can walk in obedience, so I can steward well what I've been given. If I'm not connected to God, there's no way that's going to happen, right? So God's vibes matter. Now, when we talk about energy, this, spoiler alert, is about your heart. This is about your heart. So check it. Energy check. Okay. So when you're thinking about your soul and your energy and what's coming out of you from inside of you, you've got your mind. So people can have a sense of what you're thinking about without you even saying a word. Yeah. You've probably experienced this too. People also can tell where your emotional mood is. Hashtag mood, right? People can tell where you're at emotionally. Again, maybe they observe mannerisms, maybe they can sense that. But now in a world where we're on text and we're on social media and they can't even see you sometimes, they can sense that even in how you communicate, right? How you respond to a text or not can give a mood, right? So the other thing is people can tell, as much as we try to hide it, as much as we try to play like tough guy, like I got this, like nobody can see inside of me, like no one's going to be able to pick up on any vibes that I got going on. Lies. People can pick up on it, right? They might not know the depth or the full extent to why you're showing up that kind of way, but they really know two things: fear or love, abundance or scarcity. They can tell where it's at, right? And they can tell how you consistently show up if you've been around or if they've been around you for a set period of time. So when it comes to your heart, here's what happens. The word gives you revelation on this. Out of the abundance of the heart, whatever I've got stored up in my heart, out of the abundance of what's in there, the mouth will speak. And it's usually going to be during a time and in a place where you don't want to do it, but it will just come out. You just can't hold it back anymore, because out of the abundance, boom, you're going to just declare, you're going to speak, you're going to give life to, even if it's not good, you're going to give life to whatever's going on in your heart. So if you don't address it, there's only so much forcing and pushing down that you can do till, like a volcano, it erupts. Okay? So, yes, when we talk about energy and doing an energy check, what are you operating from? Basic question just to start. What are you operating from? And I'm giving you two options. I'm giving you fear and I'm giving you love. Fear, love. Fear, love. If you just kind of scan even your last 7 days, what have you been wearing a majority of the time? What have you been operating from? Where have your thoughts been coming from? Where have your emotions been coming from? What has been going on in your heart? And I'm going to give you a couple of beautiful reminders of what love is so that you can have some context as we go into this, okay? So one of the women that I love for how she's able to put words to love and articulate and communicate very clearly is Marianne Williamson. So she says in one of her quotes, love is what we're born with. Fear is what we learn. The spiritual journey is unlearning the fear and prejudices and the acceptance of love back into our hearts. So it's remembering who we are. It's returning to love. It's coming back home to God because we've all been prodigals in some way, right? Okay. Love is the essential reality and our purpose on earth, right? We are put here to be kingdom ambassadors, right? To be in the world, but not of the world, to influence the world with the kingdom, okay? To be consciously aware of it, right? We awaken. When we are born again, when we have a salvation experience, the veil that blinded us is lifted. To experience love in ourselves and others. So until you can receive the fullness of God's love, you can't love yourself and you can't give that to others. And that's where we get it so backward. And people will say, hashtag self-love, love yourself, know your worth, all these things. That's great. But if you don't experientially get it, it's just a hashtag. Okay. It is the meaning of life. Meaning does not lie in things. Meaning lies in us. Therefore, you're inherently valuable, right? Another one, we are not held back by the love we didn't receive in the past. Wild, isn't it? We are not actually held back by that, but by the love we're not extending in the present. Whoo, Lord, we are not held back by the love that we didn't get or the love that we didn't receive in the past. We're not held back by that, but we're actually held back by the love that we're not extending in the present because we're not operating in the flow of life. If you want to think about it that way, it's almost like circulation. If you stop blood flow, you know how that movie ends, right? It's the same with love. If you stop love flow, same thing. You're going to be held back, but don't be confused. It's because of what you're not extending, not what you didn't get. We don't like that truth, but it's true. The truth hurts, right? And then sets you free if you choose it. Okay. When our minds, and this is where we're headed, when our minds move in harmony, in sync, in partnership with love, through forgiveness, through releasing, right? Through repentance, through turning away from, or prayer, or the simplest tender thought, right? Then mountains move. Whoo! Like if you want to know how to move some mountains in your life, get in harmony with love. That's where it is. Here's another one. It is not your job to seek love. Hold up. It is not your job to seek love. Not on social media, not from your boss, not from a partner, not from your kids, not from your parents. It is not your job to seek love. It is your job to seek within yourself all the barriers that are coming against it. OMG. It is not your job to seek love. And that's where we waste so much energy, where we get frustrated, where we get caught up in a lot of fear, actually, because of that. But your job is to seek within yourself all the barriers against its coming, against its flow again, okay? So, because I believe in Spirit-Filled Real Talk, I host a podcast every Saturday, Spirit-Filled Real Talk with Juliana. You can get it on the Spotify app, Apple Podcasts app, really anywhere where you get your podcast. Make sure you tune into that if you want some truth-based personal development. All right, so let's get some truth flowing here. What is love? And one of the best things that you can do is you can put your name here, okay, to really see if you're in alignment or partnered with love or letting love flow. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. So it's not jealous. It's not comparing. It's not boasting. It's not prideful. It's not proud. It does not dishonor others. It's not a hater in our language. It's not self-seeking, self-absorbed, selfish, self-centered, right? It's not easily angered or provoked or offended. And it keeps no record of wrongs. Now, if you put your name in there, Juliana is patient. Juliana is kind. Juliana does not envy, right? It's an instant self-check. That's 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 5. Another one, do everything in love. We're commanded to do that. Let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love, for I have put my trust in you. Show me the way I should go, for to you I entrust my life. Psalm 143, 8. So it's meaning, open me up to receive a fresh outpouring of your love. I put my trust in you. I know that I can't operate apart from you. I know that if it's up to me, I'm not going to operate in love, right? Above all these virtues, put on love, which binds them together in perfect unity. So love is just what causes life to flow. It's life force. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. In other words, keep your love on, okay? Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Basically, make sure that it's something that you get. Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man. Check that out. You want a good name, you want a good reputation, and you want favor. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Saying Proverbs 3, 3 through 4. And so we know and rely on the love of God, on the love God has for us. God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God and God in them. Let me say that again because I probably butchered it. 1 John 4:16. And so we know like inherently with all of our heart, with all of our being, and rely on, we stand on, we lean on, we trust in the love God has for us. The love God, not man, not parents, not the world, the love God has for us, because that is a pure love. God is love. God is the author of love. He's the creator of love. He's the perfecter of love. Whoever lives in love lives in God and God in them. Case in point. God's vibes matter, right? That's it right there. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing one another in love. We love because he first loved us. So apart from God, we are conditional lovers. We don't love unconditionally apart from God. All right. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Okay. No one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us and his love is made complete in us. So again, are you getting the importance of this? Here's a huge one as a self-check. Whoever claims to love God yet hates a brother or sister is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for his friends. Okay, are you getting it? So, examples of what are you operating from? When you hear those verses, are you operating from that? Does that sound foreign? Does that sound far off to you? I'm going to walk you through some ways to check on your heart and really assess where you're operating from with a goal in mind, which I'll get to there. But when it comes to energy and cleaning up your energy, it's more than like acute meditation and some breathing exercises. There's actually some real surrender, some real releasing, some repenting, some trusting in God, some leaning on God, some seeking of God, some journaling, some just ruthless self-reflection that happens. So I want to walk you through some of this. So when you think about your heart, and again, just look through the past 7 days, because 7 days is easier to manage than, the past few months. But look what's flowing through your heart or getting stuck up in your heart. Is it content? Is it trusting in God? Is there confusion? Is it happy for others? Is your heart happy for others, especially when you see them getting blessed in what you want to be blessed in or blessed with? Is there suspicion? Is there anger? Is there resentment? Is there comparison? Is there jealousy? Is there hate? Is there frustration with God? Is there criticism? Is there judgment? Is there lust? What if you just scan and just kind of like an x-ray, just if you're visual, picture having an x-ray of your heart, only it's able to display qualities. Okay, so it's able to display what's actually flowing through there. What feedback would that x-ray give you? You just even just did the past week, because that might be more manageable than the past, again, few months or even years. Just the past week, what has been flowing through your heart? Because that should let you know pretty clearly what is stored up in your heart, okay? Now, know this. We might not be able to have perfect behavior, but thank God we're not here to perform works for love or to prove that we're worthy of love, right? We're here to look for any of the barriers that we've created or that we're partnering with that are not love, so that love can flow again, because love is actually who we are, okay? So we may not be able to have perfect behavior, but we can have a perfect heart. What? Right? Like that sounds like it's not true. If you know yourself, that sounds like it is not true at all. Like, how could I ever have a perfect heart? Like, I see what's in my heart. I see what's come out of my heart. Like, you're telling me I could have a perfect heart. How could that ever be? Like, it's impossible. Okay. Here's what it is. It's really about having a heart that is willing to grow, a heart that wants to do what is right with all you've got. Okay. So I'm going to talk about that, but it's a heart that's committed to growing, a heart that is not cold. Okay. So here's a hard truth, but an incredibly freeing truth. Until we want what God wants, we'll never be happy. We just won't. Like, I've learned this in so many seasons. It's been so hard to surrender what I want or to let go of the way I think it should look like or how it should unfold or the timing of things and the way I anticipate it's going to happen. So here's what I know. We spend a lot of time trying to get God to want what we want and to bless it, when we will never be happy until we want what God wants. We won't. And so instead of putting all your effort into figuring out what it is that you want, how to get it in the vision board exercises that are out there, and a lot of these self-help practices that are out there, not to bash any of them, but if they don't start with God, they're probably not going to lead you closer to God. Okay. And they're probably not what makes God happy. Okay. So I have some verses for you to give you some context about your heart. So the first one, if you ever want to do a study, I know sometimes it helps somebody to simplify and break down the words. So I appreciate teaching where that can happen. So 2 Chronicles 16, 7 through 9, I'm just going to take sound bites from this, and I'm going to use the message version for all these that I'm going to share from this point forward. So, because you went for help to the king of Aram and didn't ask God for help, you've lost a victory over the army of the king of Aram. Wow. God is always on the alert, constantly on the lookout for people who are totally committed to him. You were foolish to go for human help when you could have had God's help. Now you're in trouble, one round of war after another. So what is highlighted here? That out of fear, right, these men chose to go to man for help rather than to God, and they suffered the consequences. They had to fight battles they were never designed to fight and sift through things that they were never meant to sift through, right? So another way to extract meaning from this is God works with right motives, okay? So good works, let me put it this way. Good works with right motives actually flow from a right heart position, okay? So doing right out of a pure heart is where it's at, okay? And here it is. Good works with right motives flow out of a right heart, or a right heart position, or a pure heart position, okay? One that is full and abounding in love, right? One that is flowing in love, okay? So you can trust that you're going to do right if you have the right heart position. So it takes a lot of the guessing out of doing good works or having the right motives. If your heart is right, you will do good works because your motives will be right also. It'll flow. Versus we do this backwards. We try to work really hard. We have the wrong motives only to mess up our heart. Can you see that? So we do all of this work because that's what people told us to do, or because we studied that person and that's what they were doing. So we started doing all this work and all this effort, but our motive was wrong. We were pushing, we were forcing, we were manipulating, we were controlling, only to find out we've got a mess up in our heart. Okay? So if you start with your heart and you work with God to purify your heart and cleanse your heart and give you a clean heart, then right motives and good works will flow out of that heart. All right? How do you do this? Practically speaking, practical, simple girl over here. So have a meeting with yourself. Call yourself to order. Rather than having a call out ministry on everybody else, have a nice call out ministry with yourself where you a couple of times a week ask God to shine light on your heart. Any areas that are in the dark, anything that you're hiding, anything that you're suppressing or repressing, ask God to shine light on that and get really clear. How do you know that you're doing that? Is you can say, whew, that's making me uncomfortable. I don't like that trait. I don't like that quality. I don't like that behavior. God, change me. God, change me. You know why that's so profound is a lot of times we're looking outside of us and we're looking how other people are upsetting us, how other people are not meeting our standard or our expectations. We're judging, we're criticizing, but we're not looking at our heart. We're not checking the motive, and we're probably not loving them if you just were to pull back and take a look at the whole flow of that process, right? When one of the most profound things that we can do is scale back and just have a self-check. Ask God to highlight areas, to shine light on your heart and what's going on in there so that he can heal it, okay? All right, here is another one. This one is Matthew 23. What is it? Dun, 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 dun. Okay. This one is Matthew 23, 23 through 24. This one is interesting in the message version or message translation, okay? You're hopeless, you religion scholars and Pharisees. Frauds! You keep meticulous account books, tithing on every nickel and dime you get, but on the meat of God's law, things like fairness and compassion and commitment, the absolute basics, you carelessly take or leave it. Careful bookkeeping is commendable, but the basics are required. Do you have any idea how silly you look? Writing a life story that's wrong from start to finish, nitpicking over commas and semicolons. Wow, need I say more? But this one really lets you know that we're living in a time, in an age, in a season where it's not a time to be compromising. The world is looking for God. The world is looking for love. And a lot of people won't see it except through you, if that's what you choose. Side note. Okay, so the next one, Proverbs 4, 23 through 27. Keep vigilant watch over your heart. That's where life starts. Don't talk out of both sides of your mouth. Avoid careless banter, white lies, and gossip. Keep your eyes straight ahead. Ignore all sideshow distractions. Watch your step and the road will stretch out smooth before you. Look neither right nor left. Leave evil in the dust. So that gives you a sense of when you are committed to getting your energy right, when you are committed to walking in love and partnering with love and flowing in love and letting that be your testimony, letting that be your legacy, letting that be what your life reveals, then you'll leave evil in the dust. You won't partner with it. You'll ignore it. You won't even respond to it. And you definitely won't react to it. Okay. And that's really how God will show himself strong in you. Okay. All right. So what is having a perfect heart? Reminder, it's always growing spiritually. So growing is the perfect heart, okay? It's a heart that is committed to growth, a heart that is committed to walk this out with God, okay? It's not perfection, it's not works, but it is this willingness to grow, this willingness to look at those uncomfortable places, release whatever does not look like God, turn away from anything that is not love, and really lean in to love and what God has for you. Okay, so it's saying, I'm okay, right? Like, I'm okay and I'm on my way. Like, I'm not where I was, thank God. I'm not where I'm going to be, but thank God I'm not where I'm used to be. All right, Matthew 5:48. In a word, what I'm saying is grow up. Grow up. Your kingdom subjects. Now live like it. Live out your God-created identity. Woo! Hashtag God's vibes matter. Right? Live generously and graciously towards others the way God lives towards you. What? Oh my God. Gotta read that again. Okay, ready? In a word, it's 2 words. In a word, what I'm saying is grow up. Grow up. Your kingdom subjects, your kingdom ambassadors. You're here to represent God. Now live like it. No excuses, like nothing else. Live like it. You've been given everything that pertains to life and godliness. Now live like it, okay? Live out your God-created identity. Live. Live generously and graciously towards others the way God lives towards you. There's no refuting that. Okay. So hopefully that really speaks to you. And here's something that should encourage you to and just switch you into an abundant mindset. Isaiah 30:18. God's not finished. He's waiting around to be gracious to you. He's waiting to do it, right? He's gathering strength to show mercy to you. God takes the time. Woo! Man might not, but God takes the time to do everything right. Everything. Those who wait around for him are the lucky ones, the blessed ones. Okay? And then one last verse for you. It's about radiance, because when you get your energy right, that's where the glow comes from. That's where the vibrance comes from. That's where this higher next level you comes from. Like, people can see something that's different about you. Like, there's light that returns to your eyes. There is a glow about you. There's just this lighter energy about you. There's a joyfulness. There's an uplifting presence about you, right? And that is God. And here's what it is. Psalm 34:5. Those who look to him, God, are radiant, their faces never covered with shame. Woo! All right, so if you need more oomph or momentum to check your energy, hopefully that's doing it for you. So when it comes to becoming love, there's not really a step-by-step process that I'm going to give you, but I'm going to give you a couple of things that will help you identify what it means so that you can put some effort into partnering with God on this, because apart from God, we can do no good thing. Apart from filling up on God's love, we don't have pure love to give. We just don't. So becoming love, first and foremost, is becoming selfless. So it's unlearning all of your selfish ways, all the ways where you had to be independent, self-sufficient, make my way in the world, right? Like hard pressed and just like controlling, and it's my way or the highway, and I'm right and you're wrong, and I'm whatever, right? When it's all I, and you're just not living the way I think you should be, it's not selfless. And it's not love, right? So selflessness is really being able to get out of the way and let God flow through you. I like picturing like a hollow bamboo. A lot of times if you picture this bamboo, it's like clogged with all this junk that we put there. But when you have a hollow bamboo, God can just flow, right? Like that connection is clear. So being selfless is a lot like that. Like you're open to possibilities. You're open to how God wants to show up. You're available for God to use you as he chooses. There's trust, like an abundance of trust. There's peace and contentment. And just this fulfillment. There's ceasing from striving, right? There's not this like push and this force and this like running game and running an agenda and right? Like that is not a motive that is coming out of you when you're selfless, okay? So it's becoming selfless. And a lot of becoming is unlearning and letting go of and releasing and turning away from things that are selfish, okay? 2 is embracing the abundant mindset. God is the author of the abundant mindset, not the law of attraction, not astrology, not a horoscope, not yoga. God is the author of an abundant mindset, okay? And the abundant mindset is about trusting, okay? So it's the exact opposite of lack, of fear, of hatred, of jealousy, of frustration, of anger, of insecurity, of resentment, of unforgiveness. It's the opposite of all of that. So when you think about what are you operating from? Or could it be fear that's operating behind that, right? Like check your motive, because until you can kind of scale back and have that check-in with yourself and see what you're operating from, you could just bulldoze through life and miss the whole point. Okay, so are you embracing an abundant mindset? Are you open to the possibilities that are available? Like God is the God of limitless possibilities. There's no limit on God. You can't tap God out. Like he's just abundant, always flowing, never turned off, right? There's no hatred. There's no jealousy. There's no comparison. There's no just like greed and consumption and like mine, me, I. Like that's not operating. There's not like this, I need to hold on to pain, right? And I need to make sure that this person suffers. And I'm going to stalk them to make sure that they have an awful life. Like there's not that going on. Or there's not this like studying somebody to try to like take from them. You want to bless them and support them, right? Like it's a very different way of showing up. So when you scale back and you do a self-check, am I operating out of scarcity or abundance? And when you're operating out of scarcity, you are straight up blocking your blessings. You're blocking love. You're blocking goodness. You're blocking God from flowing. So a lot of becoming love is letting go of and looking seriously at anything that's not it, right? And then lastly, it's learning to, I really embrace the new rhythm, which is benefiting, receiving, benefiting from the fullness of life, the John 10:10 fullness of life that God has for you. It's, I'm blessed in my going out and I'm blessed in my coming in. I'm like a tree planted by the streams of living water, right? Like always flourishing, always blessed and highly favored because of who I am connected to. Like I'm connected to the source. It only makes sense that the source would constantly be giving life and goodness and blessing and favor to me. It's because of who I'm connected to. It's not because of what I'm doing. It's not because of how awesome I am. It's because of who I'm connected to and who's backing me up and who is flowing through me. So a lot of the answers to getting your energy right, raising your standards, boundaries, level up, whatever the cool sayings are, it's becoming more loving. Meaning letting go of everything that doesn't look like it. Be willing to walk away from a relationship that doesn't have love flowing in it, that God didn't even initiate probably, right? It's leaving a place of darkness and dysfunction if God didn't assign you there. You might have known how to operate there because maybe that's what you're accustomed to, but it's being willing to leave that, trusting that God has more and better for you, right? It's stepping into and using your gifts, even if it's uncomfortable, because you know God is going to flow through you and use you if you just step out and find out, right? So hopefully those examples help you, but a lot of becoming love too is learning how to respond or not versus reacting, versus like everything is happening to me. No, you shift into everything is happening for me. God works all things for my good, right? It's a very different way of showing up, and it's not dependent on conditions or on people. It's something that's from within, okay? So how can you practically become more like love? Well, it's really hearing from God, and I mentioned stepping out to find out. Sometimes you have to do that, but it's really watching for how God is trying to teach you in everyday life. And the everyday affairs of your life, I know this to be true. God is talking to me. He's talking to me about my attitude. He's talking to me about excellence. He's talking to me about integrity. It's talking to me if I'm not looking like love in some kind of way. And he's guiding me to sow the seeds that ultimately I do want to come back to me. So practical examples. When I'm at the grocery store and I see somebody knocks off the aisle, I pick it up. I didn't make the mess, but I pick it up. Why? Because I'm sowing a seed that if I ever get into a mess, somebody will help me pick up my mess. Thank God for that, right? Or if I am, going to my car, I put the grocery cart away so it's not going to come ding somebody else's car. Or if I'm just like casually walking around, I don't spit my gum out so that it lands on the sidewalk and somebody walks in it, right? Or if somebody is showing up in a way that is not something that I agree with, I'm going to express compassion and extend grace rather than judge and criticize and compare or any of that stuff. That's not my job. My job is to look at what's going on in me. Why am I paying attention to that? What is this an opportunity for me to do? How can I extend love and make sure that it starts flowing again, right? I don't want to turn my love off or let my love be controlled by how other people are showing up, right? So think about that. Anything that seems little is never little to God, okay? And the word even says it's the little foxes that spoil the vine. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention and getting really honest. The more honest you get with yourself, honestly, the more God will accelerate the maturity process, the growing up process. Okay? Because he mostly cares about what's going on inside of us. So if you really want to work with energy, it's really becoming more like love. That's what I want to encourage you to look like. Look at all the ways that you're not like that and work with God on that so that you can change and lean into that and really be a better receiver so that you can be a better giver. Okay? So I hope this message blessed you. If there's pieces of this that really stuck out to you, feel free to comment. If this message did bless you, or if it's probably going to be a blessing to someone you know, if somebody's on your mind, make sure that you copy the link and share it with a friend. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you want more help and support in your life for doing this real inner work, go check out julianapage.com. There's a self-mastery course. There's a lot of great God's Vibes Matter books over there, all on different subjects. And there's also coaching services